Daniel, thank you so much for being on the show. As I mentioned earlier, you look phenomenal, and I can see that this walking desk, this is the second time I've seen that, is working wonders. You look great. How are you, brother?
I'm great. I'm great. It's so good to see you. I consider you a friend, and we've known each other for a long time. Has anyone else done the treadmill desk during the podcast?
Not yet, but this is a first, but I love it. Maybe we can start a trend. Maybe we can do a new podcast, which is like walking and talking,
Yeah. Can you walk
right?
and talk?
Can you walk and
Yeah.
talk, right? Well, some of my most creative ideas have come from movement, right? Where I've been
Mhm.
running or walking, and then like I would jot ideas that came out, and then meditation too, right? So like there's something about that kind of activity that seems to spark creative ideas. So
Yeah. Well, your
that makes sense.
synapses fire in your brain at a faster rate when you're moving. So
Hmm.
it's probably, has something to do with our, neurology.
Awesome. Well, I will. I'm gonna really dig into like maybe doing a couple episodes where we walk and talk. So, see what happens.
Or each question, you put the speed up until the last
Oh,
question or
that's a
something
good
like
one.
that.
Awesome. Well, dude, congratulations on Apollo. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey there, your current role, which I think if you're not in B2B, you might not know, but if you are, like everyone should know you by now. And I think the big question is like, how have you been able to elevate this brand so quickly? Like I just saw the immediate correlation with you joining the organization and then it just being everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to get into it. I think that, to answer your question at the highest level, like there is no alternative to having the reputation as a good manager, right? So I left Chili Piper, Med Yoli, who was the head of social media there, and Taylor Boger, who's the head of customer marketing, both decided to join me at Apollo. They both reached out. And it's like starting when you already have that trust is huge. So we're able to just like get off to the races.
Mm.
For those who might not have context, over the last year, if we look at different companies that are major B2B SaaS players, particularly on LinkedIn, like Gong, Outreach, ZoomInfo, SalesLoft, Clary, the last year, Clary's added about 17,000 LinkedIn followers. Gong's added 57,000 and Apollo's added 58,000. So we've actually eclipsed, no pun intended, all of these competitors that we love so much in terms of our follows. When I joined, we were reaching about 20,000 people per month. Now we reach 3 to 5 million per month, all organic. And a lot of it comes from just like leading by example and having a great team. And also a lot of low hanging fruit. Like Apollo's this incredible company. They're the unified go-to-market tech stack for SMB and mid-market companies. We've got almost 300 million different buyers that you can contact and a suite of tools that enables you to contact them. Meeting automation, call recording, lead scoring, AI plays, cadencing, a telephony tool, all kinds of cool stuff. And it was just the best undiscovered secret. So I would say if there was two things, it would be hiring great people and picking the right company. Like Apollo was primed to explode, and I was just happy to be part of it.
Well, for the managers and leaders out there, I wanted to highlight the concept of like hiring the right people. But one of the things that I think was pretty unique is that you brought over folks that you've led in the past or worked with in the past, right? And so like the ability to actually bring that band back together under this new mission, I think is really, really powerful. Like I'm a big sports fan, and one of the things you can see is when a new coach comes in and brings over their uh, other coaches or assistant coaches from their previous teams, like that ends up being like a really good dynamic because you already know each other, you have that
Yeah.
relationship, and you're able to hit the ground running. So if that's not incentive to be a great human and be a great manager and look long term, I don't know what is.
Yeah. And I mean, one thing I want to clarify is I didn't bring them over. They reached out to me. But it's like, you have multiple levels of strength to a relationship. The lowest is like a task doer. hey, here's a task, do it. And even if they do the task you assign them 100% of the time perfectly, I would say that's not like a top tier employee. Like top tier employees will take the task and say, why are you assigning me a task? Assign me an objective. Like, and also this task is wrong. I should do it this way instead. And when you have that type of a relationship where it's a bi-directional relationship, where you're supporting each other and learning how to think, how to prioritize, how to be there for each other emotionally and strategically, like then you create a team where there is no one driver of all of the innovation. And that is when you kind of hit the sweet spot. So all the credit to this great team who uplifts me, and they give me feedback on how I can be a better manager to them as well. So when you have that trust, people want to follow you. And recruiting isn't like you recruit now for this role. It's
Mm.
like an always on thing that you're constantly doing across everyone that you think has really unique stuff they bring to the table.
I've known you since the modern sales pros days, years ago, right? You were like OG community. And one of the things that we had the opportunity to do together is work together when you were at Chili Piper too. And you just gave me this sense that we were family, right? We were really partnering together as two separate organizations. And I could see that connection that you had with your team, right? And I can see it now also on social, right? Like even though there are teammates of yours that from Chili Piper who are now at other organizations, I can see y'all supporting each other online and commenting and all that stuff. And so again, I think that's just a testament to your leadership, and folks should really again take, I know it sounds crazy, right? Like, because it seems so logical, but for whatever reason we tend to see a lot of this lack of understanding, lack of empathy, lack of relationship building within executive levels or manager levels. And I think that's unfortunate. So just again, kudos to you for doing that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I would say family. I don't really like describing teams that way because it's like at the end of the day, it's a business, and like you don't owe your business things like you owe your family things. But I would say, like, to managers who are out there listening, like, have you really sought to understand your team? Like, have you asked them what their life goals are and how those align to their professional goals? Like, have you asked them what job they want to have in 5 years? Like, when a manager aligns to the long term development of their team, then they get the best out of that team or the team they serve, not because it's not their team, right? They get the best out of the team that they serve, and those folks want to stick around.
Awesome. I had a quick question. To invest in community in the right way, my understanding, my experience is that you really have to get buy-in from the top. And so if you're a community leader out there who is thinking about really s- doubling down on the investment, how do you start to kind of get CEOs to really buy in, right, from that top level and explain to them why it's so important?
Yeah. Really good question. I can walk through how we've done it at Apollo. But I would say it's not only the CEO. It's like it first stems from understanding like who holds the power. Like who's going to be the person who's going to give you the headcount? Is it the CEO? Is it the CFO? Is it the CRO? Is it your boss? Is it the SVP of marketing? Is it who cares? Like you need to kind of understand that first and understand what their goals are. One of the things that's really difficult about community is if you want to track it as myopically as folks in demand gen do, for example, you'll ruin it, right? Like if I build a great relationship with someone and I'm like, I got you this custom Apollo hat. Now, please share with the following UTM parameters on this date. They would tell me like, no, like this is weird, right? But when you give to people freely without expecting things and without putting a measuring mechanism in place, then they're going to feel more comfortable giving back, or they'll feel more authentic about their advocacy
Yeah.
because you are just celebrating them for being a champion of your tool rather than using them as a pawn in a like a pre-choreographed chess game that you've already know the first 10 moves for, right? So when you realize that a lot of the stuff that you're doing is untrackable on the unit by unit basis, then it makes sense to focus on it directionally, right? So there are two ways that I would answer your question. One would be directional metrics. So let's say you're doing a community play. Someone who does this great is Jason Hasenberg. He joined Sales Intel, which is not
Mm.
really a major competitor of Apollo, but they're in the space. And I immediately saw a difference. And I was like, wow, like he just got 50 leaders to post at the same time about something not related to their solution, but related to the space.
Mm.
I bet there's a spike in web traffic on their website. I know this happens at Apollo. So basically, if you want to try something in community, one thing you can do is aggregate a bunch of really loud social stuff into one time period. Like say a month, you'll try something different, or 2 weeks, you'll try something different. And then just go look at the website traffic on your website and then see, hey, is that converting to down funnel pipeline and stuff like that? Like the best day of Apollo's website traffic ever was not when we raised our $100 million Series D. It was the best day of our demos, not website traffic. It was when someone went on LinkedIn and accused us of paying for all of the advocacy that we have. And then we said, no, we didn't pay for it. At this point, we hadn't paid a single person per post. Like 100 customers were like, I love Apollo. Nobody pays me to do it. That was the best day.
Yeah.
And then I only found out randomly because someone's like, does anyone know what happened on the 17th of November? And I was like, oh, I know what happened. Addition by subtraction, right? So you can show directionally. Another way you can show things for a community, and this is after you've already started a little bit, is like surveying your close one customers and being like, how'd you hear about us? You could either do this in a retroactive survey or you can put it on the demo form. But let's say you hire someone, like I hired Zoe Hartsfield, spiking web traffic when she announces.
Mm.
Okay, why? Well, people saw what she was doing and they wanted to check out the tool because people follow people, not just tools. The third way you can get buy-in, I think this is probably the most effective way, is to create that aha moment within the executive themselves. Now, for Apollo, for example, when somebody downloads a contact and then they use our sequencing tool to reach out to that contact and a meeting is booked, that's it. That's their eureka moment. They will stick around, they'll expand their accounts, all of this stuff. And it's about getting them to that aha moment. So I would tell to the community managers out there, the aspiring demand gen folks who want to make a larger community play, or content people who want to make a community play, what's that aha moment that you can create within the executives themselves? Like you write a post or you attend the CEO's meeting. You're like, hey, I love what you said about this. I turned into a post for you. What do you think about this? They're like, I don't know, but I'll post it. And then they hire like a senior engineering leader from that, or like a big account comes inbound or something like that. Like when you have a couple of those loops of success within the people you're working with, then they will naturally want to do it themselves. They'll lean in. And then when they lean in, their employees will want to lean in. And then when their employees lean in, the frontline managers, the reps will want to lean in. So you can kind of come at it from both sides, work at it from the CEO angle and from the bottom angle. The CEO has to really be trained to care, but the AEs and the SDRs and things like that, you just have to enable them. And then they will help build this case for you. Because marketing, this is something Udi says, really brand is way too important to be left to marketing. It takes a village. So really, the more people you can lift up to start telling their story, the easier it's going to be to show that directional relationship between brand and revenue.
And one of the things that I hear there is employee advocacy kind of strategies, right? And that it's no longer I would say a nice to have, right? It's like to do this properly, you need to get that entire village, all the employees really bought in. Is that pretty accurate? Awesome.
I would say there's a bunch of different ways to cook a chicken noodle soup. I know that's not the metaphor, but employee advocacy is a key pillar because eventually you'll saturate your existing distribution points. Like you got your company page, you run ads, maybe you have an SEO play, maybe you have a blog, maybe your CEO posts in one rep. That's 6 distribution points for your brand.
Yeah.
That's not a lot. If you added 60 employees posting, that's a 10x increase in your distribution points. So you could actually cut each distribution point could be 5 times less effective and you'll still double your reach. So yeah, I mean, evangelism, partner evangelism, customer evangelism, table stakes.
Awesome. You just alluded to a couple strategies, but if you had to sort of distill what that modern B2B strategy looks like for community and where organizations can start, anything that comes to mind?
I'd say it all starts with the customer, right? So build a product that customers love and then build a go-to-market mechanism that makes them feel amazing about showcasing that love. One thing that we do at Apollo, this is a Medjoli Taylor combo move, so epic, is like anytime anyone mentions Apollo anywhere online, we give them a thank you. It seems small, but I say this a lot. Imagine you're like in your high school, whatever, you're in high school, there's a big thing, and you're like, I love Stevie. And Stevie says nothing. And then you say it again, maybe quieter this time. I love Stevie. Like Stevie's not going to, you're not going to say it a third time. Like if Stevie doesn't acknowledge it, and maybe for good reason, they're not acknowledging it. But like in the software case, like generally companies should be reciprocating to their customers.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it. So I would say like, if I would distill it all down, it would be like identifying organic, authentic customer love, and then turning that into a raging inferno of customer love. And there are a bunch of systems and processes you can do to automate that or expand it through relationship-based selling, relationship-based evangelism marketing, and beyond. So the customer voice, deploying the customer voice to spaces that hold influence. That is community marketing in a bucket to me.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, if you think about community and how it aligns with other parts of the organization, again, I know this is a big question, but any sort of highlights, just because I think sometimes folks think that community is, hey, I'm going to like spin up a Slack community and start to, just post content in there and get people to talk, right? Or it's just LinkedIn and it's just the marketing team. But I think one of the unique aspects, in my opinion, of community is that it really permeates different organizations and really kind of allows the ability to support those different functions. Any sort of highlights there for how community can support other parts of the organization? Maybe not even just go to market, right? And then the second part of that question is like any sample OKRs for that VP level.
Yes and yes-ish. So, I mean, one of the questions that I think you need to ask yourself in a community role is like, what are the goals, right? Because those should come downstream from you. Like Apollo's goals, when I joined Apollo, it was to redefine the brand. So community at Apollo is customer marketing, social media marketing, events, PR, although product marketing does most of that now, evangelism, and then community, which is our relationship across these Slack groups. And the goal of it was to uplift the brand. So our metrics were more focused on share of voice, organic impressions, referrals, the growth of our customer advisory board and the activation score within that customer advisory board. You look at a community like Gong's Visioneers community where Nisha runs it. She's just like incredible. They've done such amazing work. And Gong has been the inspiration to so much stuff that I've done. It's more focused on like, it's like customer success initiatives, like expansion of existing accounts and supporting Gong team. If you're watching this now and I'm getting this wrong, it's probably because I don't really know what your magic is, but I've been watching from the sideline and I love it. But basically it's like, is this a CS community or is it a marketing community? Because if you hire a marketer to do and to support a community that's meant to defray a CS burden, they're just going to ruin it. They're going to be like, how do we get more pipeline from this? When the goal is actually to like solve customers' questions and things like that. So it really depends on what you're looking at, but I probably would bucket it three kinds of communities: idea-based communities, which are kind of focused on brand. Like Culture Amp is a great community, not about using Culture Amp, but about the idea that companies should have a healthy culture. Product-based communities, Zapier is a great example of this. Their community's awesome. Like Microsoft Excel has an incredible community. Like go ahead and Google anything to do in Excel or Google Sheets. There'll be incredible documentation there that they never paid anyone to do. And the third is like these kind of marketing affinity group types communities where the idea is to aggregate customers, provide value to them so they want to provide value back to you. Community is like a fundamental enabler of an entire business, from your talent brand to retention of key staff to executive presence to everything. Some sample OKRs I have would be like increase organic impressions from 20,000 a month to, 3 million per month. I didn't put that down as an OKR because I didn't want to promise that, but that's what happened over the last year. Another would be like grow your community. Like, let's say it's a Slack group, like grow the community to 5,000 and maintain a 20% active member rate as defined by X or Y. But other community OKRs from the CS side could be like divert X ticket requests through community soliciting of answers, drive Z people to attend events, represent X ARR in that community, and then have the delta of your NRR from the people in the community exceed the NRR difference of those outside the community. So meaningfully impact NRR or GRR or stuff like that. Those are some examples.
Awesome. Daniel, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. If folks wanted to learn more about Apollo or follow you or any of the awesome folks on your team, what are the best channels to reach out? I'm guessing I know, but wanted to throw it out there.
So Apollo.io would be where you can find out about the tool. There's a free version of it, not a free trial, but like you can get a ton of value for free with this tool. And that's what we're about. Like we want to make world-class go-to-market accessible to all, not just like these venture-backed companies that soon will outcompete everyone with AI unless a tool like Apollo exists. So Apollo.io, check it out. The second thing would be find us on LinkedIn. Go follow the Apollo company page. Follow the Apollo team. If you want to follow me, it's linkedin.com/greatmarketing. You can make a custom URL on LinkedIn if you didn't know. So it's a lot of fun. And I would say they should also be following you, man. Like hopefully they already are, but you are truly a community master. I've learned so much from you through these years, and I'm really grateful to still call you a friend and also be able to call you and ask for advice every once in a while. Like, appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you as well, brother. And one thing I'll say is like the highlight of my career over the last 20 something years is really based on the friendships and relationships that I've been able to develop. Like companies come and go, money comes and goes. You can make a bunch of money and see that, be spent. But these relationships, these friendships, they really last forever. So I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you too, man.
Awesome. Well, dude, have a great day.
Rock and roll.